Thank you, Denise. And thank you, Marianne, for being here today. I am beyond excited to kick off this conversation. When you announced for 2024 that you were going to be running for president again, I came to your announcement in Washington, D.C. And there were so many things that inspired me that day and left an imprint on me, which goes into this quote. And we can talk so much more and we will get into it. But I think what we need to do as women in leadership positions, whether that is in our normal day-to-day life or on a platform such as yours, I think what we really need to focus on is the bigger picture of, if we ever want to see a woman in the White House, how do we leave a legacy for the women that are around us or that are coming after us, creating a template for us to follow? We've been following this template that has been a man's template for so long. It's not truly designed for us, but we know how to play that game. But if we as women in a collective can come together and say, this is how we do it, this is the steps that we can take, and share that with one another, I think that's really going to build the framework to make this change, to really radically disrupt the system. So I'm excited to get into this with you today and want to say welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm honored that you were at that announcement. So thank you.
Yes. Had to be there to support, and seeing you up there in a pink suit and being a woman, we see, especially with that color pink, right? It has so many, the tone and meaning behind it. But then you were up there on that stage claiming who you are and what your purpose is with such a loud and clarifying voice. I was just blown away. What an amazing day.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Amazing day. Well, I'm going to read your bio because we really, really wanted to make sure that people understand where you're coming from. And I'm sure many of the people who are listening to my podcast have a good idea. And then we'll go into some questions based around what Nia just brought up, and I'll give you a chance to share. So Marianne Williamson, she's a successful entrepreneur, to say the least, best-selling author of actually 15 books, political activist, to say the least, globally influential spiritual thought leader, that says a lot, and a candidate running for the Democratic Party nomination for the President of the United States. So we'll just shorten that and just say she's been running for president, which is pretty cool. She's worked throughout her career on poverty, anti-hunger, racial reconciliation issues. And her main thing, and I just love this, is to transform and address America's root cause problems and addressing them not just as problems, but looking for solutions. And that's pretty radical of itself. She uses the terms of love, the healing of America, and restoring the freedoms and rights for all who are here. That is her passion. And whenever you are in the room with Marianne, her passion, her strength, her focus and resolve are not lacking in any way. They encompass every aspect of the people who are in her presence. As a candidate for president, she comes to the table with a focus of key issues: restoring America's middle class, healing the human divide in the country, establishing a Department of Peace and a Department of Children and Youth, a declaration around climate emergency, and ending America's drug epidemic. There is no shortcomings here. And one thing is for certain about you, Marianne: if you were to be elected, you would be the first female, the first mother, the first grandmother to be president. And whether that's true now or later, that alone opens doors that have never been opened before. So thank you so much. And let's have you speak about you and what you believe in. So
Great.
based on what Nia's template was, what do you say to that?
Well, Nia, unfortunately, it's not as simple as having a woman elected president. There are women in the public sphere, including political analysis today, who I think whose election as president, who I think would be a massive step backwards for this country and for women. So there's just so far you can go contextualizing every conversation in the space of silo. Somebody's sex, somebody's sexuality, somebody's race, somebody's culture. I think it's gone so far now that it's looping back around to the point where it's almost meaningless. I think the fact that we have a female vice president, the fact that there had been, obviously, that Hillary got so close. Remember, she got 3 million more votes. The fact that others have run, myself included, Tulsi Gabbard and others, Elizabeth, I think we're already at a point where it's in the national consciousness that it makes sense. But I don't think we should kid ourselves that just electing a president who is a woman would be a step forward even for women. Some of the most patriarchal thinkers I know are women. Some of the least sisterly people I've known have been
Right.
other women. So obviously I want to see a woman be president, and also having run for president, particularly this time, believe me, I see the misogyny. I see the misogyny in ways that are amazing. Now, your mother knows me from a field where I never felt that my being a woman limited me in any way. I never felt prejudice around it. I never felt that it obstructed other people's vision of me. In this campaign, it's been an extraordinarily, well, I want to be honest, traumatic experience. To see how the same story would happen, or the same situation in my campaign, how differently that would be described versus the same situation in a man's campaign. So I think we need to go way beyond getting a woman in the White House. We need to really be down in the nitty-gritty of how women are treated, how we're treating each other, and also not pretending to ourselves that if only a woman is elected president, that what we think of as feminine, womanly values would necessarily prevail. Some of the most feminist thinkers I've known have been men.
Yes, I think it's important for us to have balance around that. And I believe that what you're saying about, yes, we do have that feminine principle that is starting to step up in leadership. I think the main thing around women's leadership, and I've been doing so many summits and I've done podcasts and I've talked about it, and I'm having a book coming out really soon around women's leadership, is that we don't understand necessarily as women what the template is. What is the template? What do we bring to the table? And from your perspective, what you're saying that, there have been some guys that have been very supportive and have understand where you're coming from too. That is so critical to being a part of the template. What do you think about that?
When I was young, my mother would say that a woman's most important job was to take care of her children and to take care of her home. And when my mother used to say that, I thought it was so retro, so regressive, so embarrassing almost. The older I got, I matured into the understanding that archetypally my mother was correct.
Yes.
It's just that it's got to be every woman's child. And it's got to be the earth itself, which is our shared home. I think, though, my mother had it correct, that there is something about the female, if we leave out the care of children, then that, I don't get it. I mean, to me, that is, you just look at nature. In even among the adult female hyenas, they encircle the cubs while they're feeding and will not let the adult males get anywhere near the food until the cubs have been fed.
Wow.
You look at any mammalian species, like if you go camping somewhere, you go hiking where there are black bears, they'll say to you, they won't mess with you, but don't even think about going near their babies because they'll come at you.
Yes,
This is
exactly.
nature. So to me, that's the number one template. Whether you are in a family, whether you're running for politics, whether you are in a corporation, that I believe there's something here about holding the space. How will that affect the children? And I do believe there's something also about the home, which at this point is this earth that we share.
Yeah.
So those are two factors which seem to me in every aspect of my work most important. In running for president, in the active stages of my campaign, I would say, some people say that we should run this country like a business. Well, I don't think we should run this country like a business. I think we should run this country like a fiscally responsible family.
Yeah.
Put children first. When you say run it like a business, given what business has become today, this soulless, unfettered, capitalist, malevolent strain of economic system, no, that's not how this country should be run. And right now, our children, I think, are the greatest collateral damage of this unfettered economic system. You know, we have children in this country who were traumatized before preschool. I have met elementary school principals who say they have children on suicide watch.
Oh my God.
We have in public schools throughout the United States, it is very common to see what they call trauma rooms. People talk about trauma-informed education, which is great, but you need to ask yourself, what is going on in this country that just childhood is such a trauma, and for millions of children. I remember reading an article about the public school system in Chicago, and they said that 1/4 of the girls in the public school system in Chicago would be clinically diagnosed with PTSD, every bit as severe as a veteran returning from an active war zone. And remember, these children are not experiencing post-traumatic stress. They're experiencing present traumatic stress. It's triggered every day. It's triggered every day when they go to bed and hope a stray bullet doesn't shoot them, or someone in their family doesn't get shot. We have millions of American children who go to schools where they don't have the resources to teach a child to read by the age of 10. And a child who has not learned to read by the age of 10, the chances of high school graduation are drastically reduced. The chances of incarceration drastically increased. It's but the proverbial cradle to prison pipeline. So as women, we really need to get beyond what I find is an old-fashioned conversation. Like, can we talk about what's real and what we know is real? The children are dying while we're standing here having abstract conversations.
Yes.
And if the women of America said, no, this will not continue, then we would make our intention to accumulate the power that is necessary to change that. Now, what you had said, Denise, was really true. When this system was developed, women weren't even part of the conversation.
No.
Right. Exactly.
And raising children was considered woman's work, right? But what concerns me is that we are part of the conversation now. But we're still not addressing these things the way we should. To me, it is very much a flaw in modern feminism. We've lost sisterhood. And we give it lip service. But you know, when I was growing up, the feminism of my generation, the 1970s and so forth, was absolutely understood that unless all of us got there, none of us were getting there. And if we saw a woman torn down, and that's got to be every woman. Enough with the silos.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree
And
with that.
you know, I'm so tired of hearing you can't invisibilize a Black woman. You're right. Well, you shouldn't be able to invisibilize a white woman either.
Yeah.
We have got to stop saying this group deserves that. We all, you know, and that's not a all lives matter type of comment. It is simply saying women are torn down no matter who we are in a patriarchal society.
Yeah. And even where we're lifted up, we have to cross
we
the barriers and shake hands and go, okay, now what?
And we've got to say and at this point, Denise, I feel like we've talked about it long enough. We're just looping. We're having the same conversations with me. No, let's break through the application. I feel on so many of these issues, analysis, we've done the analysis. We don't need more data collection. We need to get our fingers dirty. And when we see a woman or a child or any human being, if you want to talk about the template, putting humanity first. We are living in a situation, and we're living in a country where money comes before safety, health, and well-being of the American people. Where short-term profits for huge corporate interests that behave in a soulless, unethical manner are put before the planet, before our grandchildren, before our children. This is not a time to just analyze it. This is a time to actually ask every woman, what are you doing that's great and how can I help?
What can you do? I mean, well, go ahead, Nia.
What I'm really hearing is, and I feel like because of the nature of who my mom is, who you are, and how this friendship, again, we could go so deep on this, but I think this is in alignment with what your campaign was saying. We really need to disrupt everything that we know. It's like we got to flip everything on its head and start from the ground up. But I think one thing that has been constant for me recently, talking a lot about women's leadership and my mom with Dr. Sue and kind of getting into the messages that she provides, we aren't giving women enough respect as creators, our the way that we create life and bring life onto this planet has been shut down since the beginning of time. So how do we get to the root of that? How do we really get to the root cause? I know that's something that you're so passionate about, but where do we even begin to disrupt completely and start anew?
There's no situation in any of our lives that doesn't give us the opportunity to do that.
Wow.
Point.
You know, when you talk about disrupting the system, disruption is not welcomed by the patriarchy. Don't expect where women are in America today is we say we want to disrupt, but we also want to be loved and approved of.
Oh,
The
goodness.
system that you would be disrupting will not appreciate you for that. We have to get far more adult. We have to get far more mature about it. Where do we start? We know where to start, wherever you are. Where are you where a woman that you know or a feminine value that you can see is being desecrated? And what can you do about it?
Well, we can go there
You
with the
speak
whole
up.
Roe versus Wade thing. It's like, how does it get any bigger in our face
Okay,
than our
but
rights
okay,
being
let's
taken?
talk about that for a minute, okay?
Mhm.
Okay, you're right. Roe v. Wade, and guess what? Guess what? The Democrats could have codified it. Obama said he would codify it, and then he didn't want to spend, he said it's not my political priority. Obama could have codified it. He had a Democratic House and Senate. And now you have Kamala Harris out there saying, oh, trust women? Really? We've got to call people on it of whatever their system, whether they're a male or a female.
Mhm.
You know, so
Mhm.
when you say, how do you disrupt it? You have to be willing to really look at the source of the problem, even when it's your friends.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come
Yeah.
on, guys.
Yeah.
Obama had said he was going to codify it.
It didn't happen.
And so did Biden. And they
Mhm.
chose not to because politically it wasn't where they wanted to spend their capital. They didn't want to put women first. And because they
Yeah.
were making so much money fundraising, off be very afraid of Roe v. Wade.
Well,
Mm.
very
Being
interesting.
overturned.
That is disruptive. That conversation alone is disruptive. I mean,
Well,
it's having
hello.
these
And
conversations.
my being willing to disrupt it on that level has been very unpopular with the, oh no, don't you go disruption group, which includes women as well as men. Let's stop pretending that this is, it's really the feminist conversation today and the disruption conversation today. Somebody's genitals isn't what determines their consciousness necessarily.
Right. Right. Oh, man.
We could
And
go
Let's
there.
sit with that for a
a
second. Can
lot of
we?
times, what an old system will do is it will make a cosmetic shift. If it's the right race, if it's the right sexuality, if it's the right gender, you can't complain because look what we did, we appointed or whatever. And meanwhile, the system doesn't change. Notice.
Consciousness doesn't change.
So what is the solution to the change? What would we do to change? I mean, I know that you just mentioned that, especially we as women having these conversations, no more analyzing, but truly stepping into a role where not only do we individually make a change, but we collectively support that woman for making the change.
You just do it. You know, this
Mhm.
business of what do I do? What do I do?
Mhm.
The age of ditzy women, I'm not saying you're a ditzy woman, but that's the kind of question like, what do we do? We know what to do. And what I saw in my campaign, my active campaign, was the silence of so many women because the system was slapping me down. Don't you
Yeah.
dare come saying we're going to put the children first. Don't you dare really try to disrupt the system. And they smear and they make you appear radioactive. So then people, particularly women, are afraid. She's considered radioactive. If I defend her, if I stand up for her, I'll be radioactive too.
Mhm.
So it all becomes about brand protection. So when you say, what do we do? Look at yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Look at yourself.
Mhm.
It's the doing. Once you have this, the being precedes doing. Listen, we're all smart women. We know what to do once our consciousness is aligned.
Yeah.
At this point, when I say, first of all, I don't mean no more analysis. We must analyze as we go along.
Yes.
But there's a level on which, at a certain point, it's not about more data collection. It's about courage.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree. I would
A
absolutely
woman
agree
to,
with
you know,
that.
we ask, what is that template? We know what the template is.
Yeah.
Stop
Yeah.
doing that to the children. We have carcinogens in our food in this country that that are forbidden in other advanced democracies for no other reason than the undue financial influence of big food companies. What woman, you're going to the grocery store and you're buying food for your children and it's filled with carcinogens. We're way past what do we do?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, when they say, you know, if if a woman's being mugged or something, just start yelling. Start doing something. And when it comes to something like that, it does have to do with political activism.
Yeah.
And it does have to do not just on a presidential level, on a senatorial level, on a congressional level, on a school board level,
On a corporate level.
on a corporate level. Absolutely. Some of the companies, I'm sorry, but some of the companies that are doing the biggest damage to our children's lives and to our planet are headed by women.
Oh my gosh.
So we just need to get out of the 90s.
Yeah.
Because we all thought, oh, if we just get women in leaderships of power, but too many times women then, you know, have been so co-opted.
So maybe it's really, truly, when you talked about being, and you know, I come from that space, you come from that space, my daughter comes from that space. Maybe it really, the radical change would have to be in the consciousness and the being of the women who are taking these leadership roles.
Absolutely.
I formulated this template or this idea about spiral leadership. And spiral leadership, when I first came upon it, I did exactly what you did. I had a woman who came in who said, I'm trying to move up in the ranks. She was at Intel. She couldn't move up the ranks. And when she started moving up the ranks, they called her a bitch and all the other stuff that comes along with being a powerful woman. So she couldn't advance. So she came to me downtrodden. And I said, okay, so let's look at power in nature. Let's see what nature does with its power. So I drew a picture of what looked like leaves being blown away. And then I drew a picture of a spiral or a tornado. And in the middle of that tornado, two things. First thing was tornadoes gather unto themselves. They can pick up a city block and move it. But the thing that's powerful about a spiral is that it is silent and one-pointed in the middle. It doesn't move from that. But you also need, the more powerful the spiral that's really powerful has spirals within it. And the more spirals that are in the bigger spiral, the more powerful they are. My point here is, first, center in yourself and figure out what's your passion, what's your purpose on this planet Earth, and how can you contribute to the change. And second, surround yourself with spirals that feel the same. And I think this goes into this whole thing about supporting one another as women, supporting one another as humans, number one, but this whole centeredness within the self, because the consciousness has to change really in the country. That's what has to change in the world in order for us to get to where we are. Now, that's just me. That's how I look at it. But
Well, I agree
hear
with
what
you.
you
The
think.
issue for me is that nature has no free will. So elements of nature, whether it's leaves or tornadoes, are moving along the line of nature. The difference with human beings is we have free will and how often we act against our own nature.
Wow, I love that.
And not only do we act against our own nature because we're dominated by a thought system that is unnatural, I think also, as is evidenced by what you were talking about, the woman who came to you, the institutional resistance to our living a natural life is so great. Because the institutional realities that dominate our civilization are themselves unnatural. Putting corporate profits before safety, health, and well-being of human beings, animals, and planet is unnatural, but it's not neutral. So whether it's a woman being called a bitch, I mean, that's the issue here. If you speak against it, and what I saw, Denise, is if you speak against it within the safe silo, you know, you keep referring to our sister family. It's a safe silo.
The safe silo.
Yeah.
So, you know, no skin off your teeth. And that's what I mean about getting out of our silos.
Mhm.
If you see a sister who's not in the silo, who needs the help, and that was particularly painful for me in this campaign, because within our silo is a lot of power.
Yes.
A lot of power. There are a lot of us. We represent millions of people. And you
Yes.
talk about female leadership. If it's only female leadership within the safety of the silo, that's not being a leader, that's being a follower, being completely co-opted. And I've seen that in my career. Hey, Williamson, if you want to write about these issues, if you want to rail about the system as a writer, hey, girl, you get a good publishing contract, good for you, that's capitalism. And they're right, that is the high side of capitalism. They don't even mind if you have a bestseller, good on you, but don't even think about coming here and trying to change the levers of power that would actually change the situation for other human beings. Don't even think about it. Because if that's the case, we're coming at you. And women, if we're going to be real and we're going to be adult and we're not going to be little girls, see that for what it is and step out of our silos and say, if you're going to do that to her, I'm with her. You know, I was reading once a study that they'd done. And it was talking just about this. It was talking about the fact that if you're at a corporate meeting, and I saw it writ large in political terms.
Yeah.
But if you're at a corporate meeting, let's say, and everybody is moving in a direction of, let's say, profits this quarter, you know, the quarterly reports, increasing stockholder value, but there's a carcinogenic element that's in the food or whatever, that there will be temptation and a lot of institutional energy in the direction of keeping your mouth shut if you have a problem with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what the article was saying is that the study proved that if even one woman, and I think it was about gender, but I think that this would be true even if it wasn't about gender. If one woman would say, well, I think we should look at this because that ingredient does increase the shelf life, but it's also got a carcinogenic element. And I've noticed that in France, Italy, and England, they've actually outlawed that element because of the health concerns. What would happen normally in a US boardroom is there's total quiet. She just said what she wasn't supposed to say.
Yeah.
Right? Now, but this is what the article was saying. If even one person, would say, actually, I agree with her. I think we ought to look at this. That opens up the space.
A whole
Right.
That's
space.
enough. Opens up the space. Everybody will start talking about it, saying, you know, I was thinking the same thing. I think we really ought to look at that.
Right.
But if that one person speaks up and no one else speaks, then the shame and the humiliation fills the air.
Yeah.
She's quiet and the situation is handled.
So how do you go into personally, how do you prepare and go into situations like that and maintain your consciousness, your power, knowing that there's so much unconsciousness in the room? Is there something that you do? Do you have those moments when you're shaking and you've worked past that? Like, how do you live in both?
Your mother was just talking about preparing the consciousness, but preparing consciousness to know what we should be doing is not enough. It's preparing your consciousness to know I will have the courage to speak up. It's like that old, you know, the Edmund Burke line, the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for enough good people to do nothing. If people, you know all this stuff and we don't speak up and we don't act and we don't defend other people who are trying, particularly other women. So when you say, how do you prepare your consciousness? Our consciousness is prepared. I'm sorry, we've all read the same books now. We've all we all know this stuff. We've got to stop pretending we don't know. And we've got to stop coddling in ourselves or in each other. You, as a Black woman, Denise, I mean, come on. I mean, your power. This is a voice. It's the issue is, am I willing to speak it even when?
Absolutely.
Even when.
Absolutely.
Even when.
Absolutely.
And
I
then
do not
perhaps-
disagree.
Yeah, I mean, that's you carry tremendous power.
You do.
But if we're too scared to say it, because they do come after us. But what I learned on this campaign is there would be times when I'm accused or something and I'm looking to my left and looking to my right, is no one going to speak for me?
Mm.
People have known me for years.
So perhaps it's not so much as us speaking up, that's important, but it's having other women or people in general speaking up to support us too. Perhaps that's the radical template. That's the next step.
It has to be everyone together.
Yeah.
It has to be everyone together. And we use these words like solidarity. Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we use all these buzzwords, and they, if they're not practiced, if they're not applied, knowing, you know, that old saying that, you know, we all have on our computers, well-behaved women rarely make history.
Yes, it's
And
true. We
what
do.
they do now, you know, what I felt in my campaign was, I thought, what is this, the 16th century? It's witch
Wow.
burning. She's crazy. Oh, she's crazy. What was I saying? What was so crazy that we should like feed the children?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Oh, she's crazy. She's crazy. And then it was like the witch and Hansel and Gretel. She's mean. She's mean. It was like the 16th century or something.
Right.
I think one call out. I can't stand when we get labeled witches. That's just
Or
that's just so
bitches.
insane.
Witches or bitches.
But witch is just such a level of fear
But you know
that
what?
people use.
Yeah, in the old days, like we're talking centuries ago, witches meant wise women.
Yes.
Mhm.
And the destruction of the witches, and so the projection onto them, they carried
Fear.
power. They were the women who held aloft the rituals that in the villages that kept people in a sense of divine connection
Mm.
between themselves, the rivers, the sea, the sky.
Mhm.
So, and the destruction of the witches was the destruction of women who carried our natural power.
Yes.
Right.
So
Right.
now, when a constitutional amendment could abolish the institution of slavery, but it could not of itself abolish racism, because racism had burrowed down. In fact, it even got worse in many ways. I don't know how much worse you could get than slavery, but you understand what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Right.
Okay, same with women. We stopped burning witches, but we did not, but we did not get rid of the projection of guilt onto women. We just changed the consonant from W to B.
Exactly.
We went from
Wild.
she's a witch to she's a bitch, she's a bitch, she's a bitch, meaning that we still see the assumption of female power as evil.
Oh, goodness.
Exactly.
And it's still, and it's still witch burning. Archetypally, it's still witch burning.
It
So
is.
almost like, and there was a book, Barbara Ehrenreich wrote a book about the witches and the early the destruction of the witches, and it had to do, she talks there about the fact that it had to do with the emergence of what would later become Western medicine, and the fact that the women, she said, think of all the people who knew these remedies and all these natural things. Notice, I love the term old wives' tale. We say, oh, it's old wives' tale. Look how many old wives' tale we now recognize as natural remedies and so forth. But because old wives, what do old wives know? Old wives were carrying from generation to generation much of the female knowledge. Oh, it's an old wives' tale. And now you have like Western medicine coming around. Well, you know, we used to think it was an old wives' tale, but actually now it's been scientifically verified.
And see, that comes back to Marianne, that concept of the centering from within, being centered in the power, that personal power on the superficial level to a deeper power within yourself. What you said is living from a more natural place within yourself. And you know, it's so interesting. It's not natural in some ways, has just been downplayed. Natural place within yourself, because that natural place within yourself is the power, right?
It's more than downplayed. It is actively resisted. There is an active force. Devil, shadow, Satan, ego, whatever you want. There is an active force in us. There is an active force in society. And in us, it's fear. Don't say anything. They'll come after you. Don't say anything. Everybody's into their brand protection now. Right? Oh, I'll get fewer clicks.
Right.
People won't like me if I say that.
That's true.
Well, this is
It's very true.
co-opted.
very
by
true.
this economic paradigm that we say, you know, all you need is a little success in it. And boy, you know, I remember Barbara Ehrenreich, who wrote the book about witches that I just mentioned, that I think, Nia, you might really like.
Yes.
You might also want to see an old film made by the Canadian Film Board called The Burning Times.
Burning Times. I'm making a
Millions
lot of notes over
you
here.
know, anyway, wait, what were we just talking about? Where were we?
The the power within is being downplayed, but it's more than that.
More than downplay, it's assaulted. It's, I mean, misogyny is a very real thing.
Mm-hmm.
Misogyny is a very real thing.
Very clear.
And it's like I said, in my career, you know, the spiritual, I never felt it. I mean, I knew the word. But I thought in America, I mean, you know, we have, you know, we don't, you know, doing the horrible things they're doing in some countries to women, but on a deep-seated basis to see. But there was something I was going to mention about the force of the ego and the saying, you know, don't say anything, they'll come after you too.
Well, I've had so many people that I have coached, and then I want to go back to one other thing you said. Women that I've coached who have said to me, I was sitting at a corporate table because I do a lot of leadership training, preparing women to go into the corporate environment or to sit on the boards or anything like that.
Mhm.
This one woman said to me, I was sitting in the room. I was probably one of two women.
Mhm.
And the guys were all talking about this product that they needed to put out, la, 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 you know how it gets. And she said she knew she needed to say the direction they were going in was wrong, but she waited and she walked out of the room and told the other woman. But then when they went back into the room, they went back in and actually voiced their concern. And
Together.
of course,
That was a
Together.
brilliant move on her part.
Together.
and of
That was a
course it got
brilliant move.
adopted, you
Mhm.
know, and this was
Mhm.
a powerful Black woman. I mean, I wanted to tap back into that because one of the things that you talked about is this kind of, and forgive me for a better word, this aura that's around everything and everyone that is really all about discounting who you are. It takes a lot of courage, and I appreciate that you recognize this in me. It takes a lot of courage to stand up and be a woman of power. That woman that I just talked about, being an African-American woman who was with her was a white woman, to walk back in together and say, no, we need to go in this direction, takes a lot of courage because the aura around you, how we're in the bathtub together, but the bathtub water has always been about suppressing. It always has, not just for Black women, although I know I'm really powerful, but also white women, women of all colors. We get pushed down and no, you know, whatever. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what you're trying to say. And I want to recognize that we all do have the power. We have the power to open our mouths, which is why I do this podcast. This podcast is about open your mouth and get your voice going, even if you know that you're going to be downplayed for saying it. I mean, I don't want to give the title away to my book yet, but, you know, it's radical because we do talk about bitches in the book. And it's interesting. I am very lucky to have women like you, women like my daughter, women like the people that in my family sister group. Then we're like, what? Right? So it takes a lot of courage to get out of this aura that surrounds us that tells us, no, you can't. You can't step up and be the powerful person you were born to be on this planet. I don't know. I got on my soapbox, Marianne. It's I'm throwing the ball to you.
The problem if, first of all, the woman that you were mentioning, that was a brilliant move to go leave the room to talk to another woman. Gloria Steinem once said to me, the key is to take another woman with you when you are stepping forward. So that was a brilliant move on her part to go out of the room to get a partner. Because when you have two, and that's really like that story I told of even one other person, an agreement between two people penetrates any wall. But once again, if the woman can have all the courage in the world and go out there and say it, but when the system comes down on her and there's nobody who's willing to defend her, then, it doesn't take anybody to the places we need to go.
Yeah.
Are
I
you
think it
saying
does inspire. I think it does inspire and it plants seeds in others. But
even
I,
if we were at the table, let's say, and just a woman decides to speak up as the other woman in the room, should I just immediately, without thinking, say, "Yep, let's listen to that more. Tell us a little bit more. Yes, I agree." Should we just like, no matter what, we need to buy in to support her?
what is the question?
So someone does speak up. She's the only woman in the room. She decides to speak up and say something. Even if I say maybe I didn't agree or I'm unsure, should I just automatically say
Oh, the woman
yes?
might be wrong. No, women can be wrong too. So no, you don't agree if the woman is wrong and you don't agree. But if you do agree and you recognize the energy in the room, which is her either being shot down or ignored or invisibilized or not heard because she's suggesting something that you and I would call natural, but goes against the patriarchal economic order, that's when you speak up. I mean, don't say anything if you don't agree with her, but if you do agree with her, absolutely, you say, I agree with that, actually.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be, yeah, just, I agree with that, actually.
What about even maybe I don't agree, but making sure that she has a space to be
No,
heard?
no, I mean, she's at the table.
Mm.
Yeah.
She's already
Yeah.
at the table.
Yeah.
So,
She's
no, I
at the
mean, that
table.
would be another way of going against your knowing. I mean, I don't agree with everything a woman says. I'm just talking about times when I do agree with what a woman said, and I notice that she's being ignored or invisibilized or erased or attacked or undermined because she's a woman. But I might say they're making fun of her, they're attacking her. So if I say anything, they're going to make fun of and attack me. And so I'm going to keep my mouth shut. That's when you realize they've got you, they've co-opted you. And like when you were saying, Denise, preparing your consciousness, at that point, do you have the consciousness which would give you the courage? By the way, the game is once you do, I mean, I'm thinking about one thing I know where there was a woman that, see, online, social media has made this a horrible, horrible thing because it eats people alive.
Yeah.
Everybody's so afraid of being canceled right now. And a lot of people feel, well, hey, this is how I make a living, my whatever. So I understand that in many cases, it's gotten really, truly terrible how people will cancel people. And some of the biggest bullies online are women. It's a very, very difficult moment right now. A lot of this you have to really think about. But I'm thinking about one woman who said something, actually it was about race. And did you remember Danielle Laporte? You probably know Danielle, don't you?
I don't.
Yeah, and she did this ad. Anybody could see, she didn't mean it to be a racist thing. It was a clock and the dark hours, and I don't know. You did look at it and cringe.
Mm.
But you didn't look at it and think, you just think kind of unconscious, kind of clueless. But I didn't feel, and the way people came after her, this was about 2 or 3 years ago.
Mm.
And I spoke up for the reasons I'm saying. I said, she didn't mean this as anything. And boy, they came after me. So I do know you pay a price these days for, and I've also seen how Hollywood celebrities now are so quiet
Yeah.
about anything political now,
Right.
because their managers have said, keep your mouth shut because they'll cancel you online and then they'll boycott the movie but this is a scary moment. We all have
Yeah.
to think about this.
And it's funny because my next question for you starts out, we're at a pivotal moment in time. And we really are. I mean, if you're alive and you have a pulse, you have to feel it. You have to know that it's one of those times in history where we've got to stand up. You've got to open your mouth. You've got to call bullshit. Excuse me, folks out there, but this is a podcast, so I can say that. You can call BS on something that just isn't right. We can't afford to hide in our little cubby holes and not speak up. And it is. It's a little bit scary because we don't want to be canceled or whatever it is out there, right?
It is scary, and people will boycott. I've been talking to friends in the last couple of days. I'm sure you know Catherine Wilbur Thomas, obviously, right? Catherine and I were talking about this last night, and then another friend of mine who called last night. You know what people aren't thinking about right now? Honor, ethics, character.
Love.
But love you can keep fuzzy. Oh, I love you. Really? Well, then why didn't you call? Oh, but I love you. No, actually, I wouldn't have known it because I was on the floor bleeding and you weren't in the room.
That's a pretty good point.
But this thing about honor and ethics and integrity, and we've forgotten that issues of character. And this online thing is making it even more difficult for people.
Very difficult. Well, one of the reasons why I wanted to bring Nia in is because that is kind of her group that started the whole social media phenomenon. And I know, Nia, from your experience, it's one of the things that you don't like to participate in. Although
it doesn't sit right with my soul energy. It just it's an uncomfortable place. What I'm hearing is we've been talking a lot about how do we change the consciousness or advocate for ourselves on a larger stage in leadership, in corporate, whether you're running for any type of office. But I'm at a pivotal point in my life where I'm really trying to figure that out personally. And I'm sure there's a lot of other women that are trying to figure out that personally. And it's a scary feeling to express your needs and your passions and stand by it without fearing that you're going to lose what you desire.
Well, whether you're 18 or 80, whether you're 30 or you're 50, you're here for the same purpose. You're here to be a conduit of love.
That's right.
A conduit of hope and inspiration in a darkened and scared world. And that will never not be your purpose. And that is the consciousness of how can I be truly helpful? Yeah. From a spiritual perspective, love is to fear what light is to darkness. You turn on the light, the darkness is gone. So in any situation where you're simply there to be a vessel of love, you can't be afraid.
Yeah.
That's where courage comes from. I'm here. I am love, and I'm here to love. What would be the most loving thing to say and do at this moment? And you're serving the ages. You're not serving the corporate bottom line. You're not serving what other people want. You're here to serve the ages. You're here to serve nature, the natural order of things. You're here to serve something much bigger. And when you're serving something much bigger, you find something much bigger within yourself. You can't find that until you're in service to that. And when that's it, you don't even need to advocate for yourself. When young women particularly say to me, how do I find my power? You find your power by using your power on behalf of someone else. Get over yourself. It's not about you. When you're in any situation and your only desire is to speak up for the children, for the earth, for those who are treated unjustly. I mean, all of us are privileged women. Right. And so the issue is, what are you going to do with that privilege? And all of us have different aspects of privilege, but we are among the privileged. Yeah. You go into any situation knowing you already are. Yeah. And you advocate. You're not thinking about advocating for yourself. You think about advocating for others. And advocating for yourself comes natural because you say, if I allow myself to be limited here, I am limited in what I can do for others. Now, what women of my generation, and Denise, I doubt you're as old as me, but it's that same general type of...
Getting up there.
So what happened for us, Nia, is there were that were not open to us, that are open to you, but they weren't open for us. And what we had to do was scratch on the wall to get in. And it's like we had to put false spikes on our fingernails. Mm-hmm. And then when it came time to take the claws off, they had become cemented on. Mm. And so what happens for a lot of people, when you start a bathtub that has not been used in a long time, the water spurts out and it's brown.
Yeah.
And then you have to let it go into a stream. If you are a formerly suppressed people, as a woman, as a Black person, as whatever, you were not allowed to express yourself. So then all of a sudden there's a time in history where we can, and the anger that our ancestors felt at not being heard comes out like, ah, so that our truth comes out like the spurting brown water. Then you get to the point where you're sitting in this place of, am I going to express it with anger? I will be heard. Or are you going to eat your truth and not say anything? Where we're all trying to get to now is, I'm going to be calm. I'm going to be loving. I'm going to be kind, and I'm going to say no when no needs to be said.
Yeah.
And I think that's the consciousness, that sometimes love says yes, sometimes love says no, but I'm in the room to be a vessel of love. And that love may or may not be appreciated. Love for the children, love for the earth, love for nature. Like I said, Denise, the leaf is always going to go along with the natural order. The tornado is going along with the natural order.
Always.
We have free will.
Yeah.
And the natural order is love.
The natural order is
And
love.
the fact that you are, and I'm sure your mother has told you this, but sometimes you hear it, from those who aren't our mother. You're in your early 30s, you said?
We call them the aunties. You hear from the aunties.
Yeah. And that's exactly right. And you're single, you don't have children yet, you're not married yet. This is a phase. No better, no worse than any other. I think my biggest personal weakness, both in terms, no, I don't know what's my biggest personal weakness, but certainly a weakness I see in myself. I've done this in relationships. I've done this in cities. I've done this in situations, and I've done this at periods of my life. I didn't fully inhabit it while I was there. It will change. There will be a time when you are married. There will be a time when you are a mother. There will be a time when you are, but right now, your mother and I can tell you what you can't see right now is that means you're unburdened, you're unencumbered. That means there are wonderful things that will change. Fully inhabit the beauty of that. Because even as you, and Denise, tell me if you disagree with me on this, but even as you spoke of yourself, was as though this is a lesser time. And not a lesser time. It's a glorious time. Your mother and I can tell you, Denise, tell me if this is true. I have the experience, and I know every older woman has. We look back at pictures of ourselves when we were in our 20s and 30s, or even 40s, and we go, oh my God, I thought that was inadequate.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Yes. And love. I
and you're
feel
being
so
that's
full
ultimate
with
leadership
love.
in any situation. How can I serve and how can I love?
Yeah.
Yes. I went through just a little, sometimes we got to go a little personal here, but I went through a really amazing self-love journey and still going through it. And what I came to is just really tapping into experiencing love in all situations, just embodying, being, feeling, loving.
That's all it is.
It's a great feeling.
Well, that's because you are literally being who you are. It's a great feeling because you are literally being who you are. And it's like I said earlier, if you're clear about who you are, you become clear about what to do.
Right. Right.
Yes, you do. That's very, very true.
Then you have to have the courage to do it. And
Yeah.
because it's really easy. Oh, I love you. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
I was lying on the floor and you didn't pick me up. I love that.
Yeah.
I
love
bleeding.
that.
You didn't do anything about it. But thanks for your love. How about that? Also, I want to, because we're at the top of our hour and I don't want to take you over as well, Marianne. I know you have some fabulous things. Being with us is fabulous, but I want to let you go for other
thanks
fabulous
for having
things.
me. And the fact that we're all in Washington, can we do
I
dinner?
can't believe it.
Yes, we have to meet up.
We have to meet up. Well, I do. In closing out, I've been doing something very special at the end of the close of these podcasts now, and it's taking what I know about the person and being personal about it.
Okay.
Because these bios, I literally hate reading those bios. I'm like, whatever, it's not who this person is in the now. So I want to go in a moment and share some things with you, and you're welcome to comment on any of them. But I think that this is where we're at in our conversation anyway. You've written 15 books, so a little bit of bio. 3 of them changed my life.
Oh,
3
thank
of
you.
them. You're welcome. The first one was A Return to Love.
Thank you.
And this is what you just shared with Nia. And that book was on the pinnacle of what cracked the egg and gave me an opening to start to be myself. So thank you for that book. And
Thank
it gave me a definition of love that expanded what love meant beyond, oh, I'm in love with him. It expanded that.
Thank you.
That was wonderful. The second book was The Healing the Soul of America. And I can't even begin to thank you for that book, because it does go into the reconciliation around, what it meant to grow up Black here and to not have anyone say, I'm really sorry that that happened to you or that my ancestors did that to you. And this book really gets to that, not only just for African Americans, but for the Native Americans as well. And speak on courage, Marianne. It took a lot of courage to write that book.
Well, but that's an example of what I said before. The system doesn't care if you write the book.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to actually run for political office based on those ideas, so that you actually could attain a level of power to act on those ideas,
That's it.
that's when they're coming after you.
That's the it. That's the it. But
Yeah.
thank you for that book.
Thank you.
And then the third book, which is part of Full Circle, and that's kind of how nature works, is the book Emma and Mommy Talk to God. And that is one of the reasons why I have Nia here today, because I used to read that book to Nia when she was between 2, 3, 4 years old every night.
Mm-hmm.
And it created a special bond between the two of us. And so I want to read one of the passages out of the book, because this is in reference to thanks to you, where you stood for me as a mother while you were standing in your own being a mother. So it says, one morning when Emma was getting dressed, she asked Mommy, where do I come from? From God, sweetheart. And her mother said her mother, God loves you very much, and he loves Mommy too. And he sent you to Mommy so that we could be together. So sweet.
Yeah.
And so I also want to thank the universe, God, whatever you call it, for allowing us to spend this time together, Marianne.
Yes.
Oh, thank you both. Thank you. It's wonderful to be with you, and thank you for allowing for a very real conversation. And we really got into the weeds about stuff that I think as women we need to do. And I'm just thrilled to learn that we actually live in the same city, and I hope that we'll get together and extend the conversation and allow ourselves to genuinely be sisters off screen as well as on.
Off
Yes,
screen is on
likewise.
screen. So
I'm looking
full-
forward to it.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
got some deeper places to go. So I have my notes. I'm ready.
Cool. I'm ready too. Just call me anytime. I
All
appreciate it.
right.
Yes,
Thank you so
so
much.
Thank you
And we
both.
will
Thank
see
you.
you
God
again
bless you. Have a
soon.
beautiful day. Thank you.
Yes, you too. We'll be
Bye
in
for
touch.
now. Well, very good. That was a very good session with Marianne. We did go to some deep places.
Mhm.
Hopefully you all stayed until the very end, because I think we came full circle and put some balm on some of the things that happen when you stand up and become a woman. Can sometimes be painful, but I think we ended with putting a nice, calm balm
And
on
let
that
this
expression.
be your moment. We talked about being that second advocate for the person that is speaking out. Share this episode, share this podcast with somebody that you know, and allow that second voice to be heard so that we can break through those barriers and disrupt together. 2 voices, 3 voices, 4 voices of women coming together is stronger. Truly build that sisterhood. Let's not let those stand up and courage on their own.
Yay. And that's what happens when you bring your daughter to your podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We also want to make sure that you follow us and subscribe. If you subscribe, we won't have to send out emails sending this podcast to you, because it will automatically come up in your feed. And as Nia says, share. Please share this wisdom with others and share our podcast with others. Stay tuned. We're going to be doing several what we call sips and tips, where we're going to get together for happy hours, allow ourselves to have these kind of conversations. We're looking forward to sharing those moments with you. Keep looking for emails that we will send out, and our Instagram blasts and LinkedIn blasts will tell you all the great stuff that we're doing to help women express their voices. This is Denise Harrington, your host, Women Express, and let's do this. Women, let's get out there and express. Thanks so much for joining us.
I also want to include, if you like what you heard today, not only subscribe, give us 5 stars. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, that's one of the best ways to make sure that other people hear our podcast. So give it 5-star review. Let people know in the comments what you like about the podcast and why they should be listening. Another big announcement is we are back up on Spotify. We had a few moments there where some of the episodes weren't making it over to Spotify, but now all episodes are located on Spotify, and same thing there. Subscribe, give us a 5-star review, and make sure to leave comments for what you love about Women Express so that other women like you can find us and enjoy as much as you are enjoying. So thank you for joining us. Thank you, Denise, for having me on the podcast today. My voice is a voice that I am excited to use, and thank you for giving me the platform to do so.
Absolutely. You know, that was the whole thing. Nia and Mommy talk to God.
We were meant to be on this earth together. God had his plan.
That's right. All right. Thanks, friends, for signing in with us, and we look forward to talking with you again soon. Bye for now.